The time is 16:46, and you're still with me, Salilo Makudi. Sorry, there were a bit of a technical glitch, but I think the guys behind the desk have sorted it out. This is still World Cup talk with me, Salilo, where we'll be discussing the World Cup. Just the simple stuff, just the language that you understand with experts, former coaches, journalists, pundits, people that generally understand the game and have their eyes fixed on the Qatar 2022 World Cup, which is becoming one of the most memorable World Cups for me, considering some of the results that we saw, particularly in the group stages. I think the group stages have been really, really interesting to watch. Yesterday, we witnessed day 10 of the World Cup, and I spent some really, really interesting stuff with England. They're walloping their neighbors or their brothers. The UK. We saw Senegal also coming through and being one of the first African countries to qualify for the knockout stages. And the US also beating Iran in that much anticipated match. But I'm not going to be saying a lot. I have an expert on the line, former Moroka Swallows head coach, that is Mr. Zeca Marques. I hope he's on the line. Hi, coach. Can you hear me?
Yes, good afternoon to you and your listeners, and thank you for inviting me on your show.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, and I'm really sorry for keeping you on hold with a bit of a technical glitch, but we sorted now. We're batting the world. Everyone's excited. As a coach, as someone who's so fully immersed in world football and the different playing styles of the different countries around the world, what has been your general view on the group stages of the World Cup? They are coming to an end. We've seen a considerable amount of football already being played. What's your analysis, general analysis and recap before we get into specific games and specific players and countries?
Yeah, look, it's been a very good World Cup, very positive, a lot of surprises, good football. Organization has been really top. Just everything so far has been, as you said earlier, an memorable World Cup, and for me at the moment, it's probably the best World Cup in many years. And the football has been on par. Previously you see World Cups starting off very sluggish. This World Cup has just exploded from the word go. A few surprises, pleasant surprises. I'll go with Saudi Arabia, the first one. I think they've been
definitely.
They've been unbelievable. They've been good. Senegal yesterday starting to gain their form and show why they're Africa's best. Morocco also going to make their ground. So there's a few good teams out there that have impressed. I've been very impressed with the USA. I think they put in a good performance yesterday. They've got some exciting youngsters there, play good football. They're not they don't take anything for granted. They get on the field and they just play. And obviously from the big guns, the team has impressed me the most has been Spain. I didn't think much about Spain in the past, but the way they've tackled this World Cup have been very, very impressive.
And I think you touched on Spain there. I think would you say the difference is they seem to have understood that it's very important to have a plan. After a certain generation passes, you need to have a plan, and I think that's been their Achilles heel, especially after winning the 2010 World Cup. They didn't seem to quite have a plan after that golden generation of your Andres Iniestas, your Puyols, Ike Casillas, Sergio Ramos, David Villa. After all those players seemed to have reached their prime, and most of them were hanging up their boots, they seemed, a bit lost. I mean, we saw in the 2014 World Cup, 2018 in Russia, where they were knocked out in the group stages. Don't you feel like finally Luis Enrique has realized that you need to have a succession plan? You need to have, younger players coming in and giving them that responsibility instead of relying on an old guard that, you're certain that they don't have much time on their legs and they won't give you another full tournament World Cup performing at their peak.
Yeah, look, I think Spain have been fortunate that the youngsters are coming through at the right time. And football, everything is about timing. 2014 is gone. We're almost looking 10 years down the line.
Yeah.
New generations coming through. These youngsters, fortunately for Spain, are playing at the highest level. So they understand the demands of the game. They understand the pressures. And now you can see it. It's coming to fruition with them. When they play, you see they play with confidence, play with authority. Everything they do, there's an objective. And the coach himself, I think he's tweaked a few tactical situations. Spain's no longer, and I say this with respect, it's okay to play possession football, but it got boring after a while. But now at least they're playing possession football with a purpose.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. Yeah, definitely. You can see, it's no longer about just keeping position. They know when to keep it, and they also know when to go direct. They're no longer just looking on passing it around. Sometimes having one pass too many in situations where maybe you can have released the through pass. So I think you make a really good point there. I also want us to touch a bit on England. I think going into every World Cup, I think because of the English Premier League and their players being the players that we see playing at what we consider the best league in the world, they're always the contenders or the dark horses going to the tournament. What are your thoughts on them so far? I mean, yesterday they beat their neighbors Wales 3-0. First game against Iran. They did really really well. Also, the players that you expect to show up are showing up. The likes of Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka. They seem to be understanding what they need to be doing, and not just relying on only Harry Kane, who sometimes can be isolated up in the park without any supply, because he's the classic number 9, just wants to score goals. So do you see a difference in them, considering first how they qualified, and also the previous World Cups where we would say a lot and have so much expectations from them, but then they wouldn't deliver as well as you want them to. But they seem to have a certain bounce about them this time around. They seem to be more ruthless, if I can say, in how they approach games and wanting it.
Yeah, I think the first game, England did start off a bit sluggish. I think the starting 11 wasn't the right one. And the fact is that he changed and he put what I think is the right one yesterday. The best starting 11, maybe another one or two players. But this young generation of England are clever players that play again at the highest level, week in, week out, very demanding football. There's creativity, technically gifted. This is probably the best generation I've seen of England with young players.
Whoa! Really?
Yeah.
Wow! That's a bold statement there, coach.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the squad, Foden, Rashford, I'm just trying to remember some of the names now. These youngsters have abilities that take you on. They're direct. They're technically good on the ball. They understand what to do at certain moments of the game. They don't just kick and run anymore. They can keep the ball under pressure and move into spaces. And this only happens because some of the youngsters are playing at Manchester City. They're playing at the very good teams with good coaches. And that has changed the way they play. So yesterday, Southgate changed it, and they were a bit more dynamic. They were more aggressive going forward. They scored goals. Harry Kane might not score, but he's probably the best player in assisting. So he has that option. He's not just a direct football, play the ball to Kane into the air and he'll score. He doesn't score many of those, but give the ball at his feet. He makes diagonal runs. He drags defenders away from the central zone. Then he brings the ball back in, and then his teammates finish off. And that's exactly what happened with the third goal against Wales. If they can keep this momentum going, now the test will be against Senegal. who play very open football, very direct, very aggressive, based on speed. Um, Up front, they've got lots of options. They're not the best team from a goal scoring perspective. They shoot a
Mm,
lot, but they're a lot of they're a lot off the mark. I actually did the game yesterday against on TV. I was at the Portuguese channel at Super Sports, and there were chances that they could have just finished off easily, but they just get a bit under. They just get a bit rushed, and the ball keeps being pushed wide and over the crossbar and so on. But at least they have a high percentage of shooting, which is good,
mm,
which is what we normally don't see from African teams. African teams are normally quite afraid of shooting, but these guys, any half a chance outside the box, they pull the trigger.
mm,
So it's
mm,
gonna, for me, it's a good test. England versus Senegal is going to be the test for England.
mm. Speaking of Senegal, what's your general opinion again on the performance of African countries? We know Senegal, they've booked their place in the round of 16 with a thrilling 2-1 win over Ecuador, which saw them finish second in the group, 6 points out of 3 matches. They did fairly okay, considering that a lot has been said with Sadio Mane being out of the squad through injury. African countries so far, we know they started slow, but there seems to be something different this time. Your thoughts on how our brethren in the continent are faring in this World Cup?
I think the African teams are maturing.
Mm,
They're starting to realize the responsibilities, and they're starting to learn from the experiences of the past, and they're making use of it on this occasion. I'm very impressed with Ghana. I think Ghana got an exciting, electrifying team. They're dynamic, they're aggressive when they go forward. They're based on speed, but midfielders better defensively. They make less mistakes, and that's why they've been good. I think against Portugal there was the first penalty. Well, the penalty against them personally was never a penalty, but that's just my opinion on that one. So that's just the way it is. But they've been able to bounce back strong. The last game they played, they're a very exciting team to watch. And on the day, they could beat any team.
mm, no, definitely. Speaking of Portugal, there, we know the connection that you have with the team. Your thoughts? Bruno Fernandes had a thriller of a game on Tuesday. Cristiano Ronaldo, not at his best, which would be expected because of there's so much just happening around him. But they're also the ones to look out for in this tournament. I think they've have a nice mix of experience and youth in the team, and they seem to be complementing each other, and again not relying as much on Cristiano Ronaldo. Bruno Fernandes is raising his hand up as being the talisman for them, someone who'd carry the team when the chips are down. Your thoughts on Portugal and how they're playing, and probably how far they can get in the tournament, considering how they play and how the other big European teams are also playing.
Yeah, look, I think Portugal's got a good team. The biggest problem that Portugal has is that they've got a coach that is very conservative.
Mm,
It doesn't allow for the players to express themselves. You see this with scores of Portugal. It's always 1-0, 1-0. His substitutions are very late in the game. He doesn't make changes when they need to. And I think that the players that Portugal has, they have the experience to deal with these situations, and he's in some way or another hampering the progress. So for me,
mm,
our biggest challenge is the coach. But anyway, he's the head coach. Fortunately for him, he's got a good group of players. First, he's got a great goalkeeper in Diogo Costa. This guy's
definitely.
been phenomenal. All right, so that's half of his situation sorted out. Then you've got Pepe, who just come back from an injury. He's still at the age of 39. What the difference he makes when he plays. So that's the leadership quality that he has on the field as a centre back. At this stage, Portugal hasn't got better, so he's also in form. Then you have Diaz, the centre back that pairs with him, also going through. Playing well in Manchester City. So fortunately for Portugal, defensively they're okay. Then
Mm,
the midfield is strong. lots of options from the bench with good players. Guys who are going through great patches at the club. And then you have up front, you got Rafael, who plays for Inter Milan, youngster, dynamic. He comes on the field, he tends to score every time he's on the field. So we've got good options, we've got a good team. But the coach somehow, with his conservative mindset and conservative football, it's almost like a handbrake. The players want to play, and he just keeps on putting the handbrake up all the time. And I think the Portuguese team is feeling that frustration. Fortunately, we won the last game. It makes life a little bit easier. So 6 points, and let's see what happens in the next round. Because next round is knockout, so there's no room for error now.
And I think another team that's been spoken a lot about, and again, 5-time winners of the World Cup, Brazil. Every tournament that they go into, also they are they are the contenders. What has been your thoughts on them so far? People are saying this could be also, their golden generation. I know there've been some really, really great players that have come out of Brazil, but looking at the squad, it's also, raising its hand. It has some really good names in there. The first few games that they've played, your thoughts on them, and with Neymar there or not being there, does it really make a difference considering the amount of talent that they have on the team? I mean, you can just count the Vinicius Junior doing the business there. They have Rafinha coming in. They seem to be, also bolstering a very, very good squad. Casemiro doing well. They seem solid. Thiago Silva, also, one of the senior citizens in the World Cup, but you wouldn't say solid at the back. Brazil, are they also one to put your money on?
Yeah, look, they've impressed me. The first game wasn't as impressive as the second one, but I think every game has their own demands. But Brazil have been solid. Again, let's start off with the back, a solid goalkeeper. When you have a team that is a solid goalkeeper, you know you got half a chance.
Yeah, and Brazil has probably the two best goalkeepers in the world right now.
Yeah, so from that point of view, they set. And then you got defensively, you spoke about the elderly statesman. You can't take away the experience. In any moment, and he has that. Then you have the midfield, guys who are creative, the guys who can defend, guys who know how to see the game, read the game different. And then you have this creativity of Brazil that only Brazilian players know how to do. They play off the cuff sometimes. And that's what makes them special. Look at the goal that Richardson scored.
That's probably going to be goal of the tournament if nothing comes out in the knockout group stages. I mean, the technique and the build up to the goal also, it was really beautiful. It was, yeah.
If there's a goal that's going to beat that one, it's going to be a bicycle kick.
Definitely.
The bicycle kick is special.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you have that flair amongst. They have this. They think on their feet. Sometimes it's just like when you're expecting something, they have this unexpected way of doing things, and they create something out of nothing, and that's what makes them special. And Brazil has a group of players that have that creativity and flair in abundance. And when you look at this World Cup, defensively, most of the teams have been well organized. So you need people that is going to unlock this and do something special to create a gap and a moment of sheer brilliance. And Brazil has that. So, yeah, and they're looking good. So, the only team that didn't impress me in the beginning was Germany. I think they've been sluggish. They were fortunate to game against Spain. It was the best I've seen Germany play when they were up against the ropes. I could see their sense of urgency in their eyes. They didn't want to lose because they would have gone packing. So, but let's see. You never know what the Germans can do. Again, they just have something special about them that when the moment gets going, they come to the game, and they did it against Spain.
Speaking of Germany, I'm also not sure about them. I'm not sure what seems to be going wrong. Hansi Flick is there. He took over from Joachim Löw, obviously, who's been with the team for a very, very long time. Do you maybe feel he needs a bit more time with the team to try and build up from also again that curse of a team winning the World Cup and after the World Cup not knowing what to do with their lives? They seem to be out of touch. It doesn't seem to have a concrete plan and a good starting 11. Yes, they do have the players, German players, in Europe, they're playing amongst the biggest leagues and, are the most sought out of players. But coming into the national team, they don't seem to gel that well. 2018, Russia, they were eliminated in the group stages, they didn't do that well. And then coming here, also needing qualification on the last day. uh, do they stand a chance? Is there really that something special that you speak about when it comes to Germany?
Yeah, I see the problem with Germany, and football has evolved from when Germany was a powerhouse in world football.
Mm,
And unfortunately for them, nowadays you don't have to be a great team as long as you know how to defend. You can stop a
mm,
team like Germany from playing because passing football is not always going to get you results.
mm,
And Germany is known for a passing football. They're known just to play, wait for the moment, put the ball into space, and things happen. But the
mm,
way these teams are set up lately, playing defensively, well structured, well organized, almost defending with 8 players, well, you need someone that's special that's going to come in there and just be creative and be a good dribbling player, for example, that's going to take people on,
mm.
like we saw yesterday with England. England has
Yeah.
those like youngsters that can take people on. Germany doesn't have youngsters that can take people on in tight
Mm,
situations.
mm,
So
mm,
it becomes very difficult.
mm. Individual brilliance there, and I think another, I think, big fixture for me. I know we've spoken about Brazil, but another African country, Cameroon. They need to beat Brazil in order to qualify. For the round of 16. A lot of African countries going into this World Cup. I think a thing that stands out for most is the fact that all of them are being coached by locally, by local coaches. Coaches that are born and bred in the specific countries that they're
Yeah.
coaching. Cameroon, Brazil, Rigoberto Song. Do you see it happening for them? Considering how they played, and Brazil, are they going to give them a game, or Brazil's going to say, you know what, we already qualified, maybe field a second starting 11, rest the important players for the knockout fixtures, which are going to be really difficult. What's your thoughts on this game, because it's a really, really big game, especially from an African point of view?
Yeah. Yeah, look, playing against second string players, in this case, Cameroon's playing Brazil, playing against players who normally don't play is also very dangerous because those players want to play and show the
Oh,
coach that they want to be in the next game. So it
definitely.
has the opposite effect. They second string because you can only play 11. And sometimes it's only because of tactical nuances that they're not playing in the starting lineup. And this
Mm,
might give Brazil the freedom to experiment and do things that they normally wouldn't do and give certain players a chance to play and go and express themselves and play. And that could be
mm,
dangerous.
mm, mm,
So
mm,
from Cameroon's side, they're doing well. They they don't have up front the players that makes a difference. And we saw Abu Bakr came from the bench, and
mm,
I don't even know why he's on the bench because I think he should be playing from the beginning. He plays and he scores goals. He scores goals because he knows how to score. And
mm,
if you want to win games, you need people that score goals. So let's see what he does next round. Some of these coaches have been so conservative and that they've left the best players on the bench to play defensive, and then they're forced to, well, they play them, and then all of a sudden the ball bounces their way, and you see a Bakr comes on and he scores a goal, and he could be in the
mm,
starting lineup next round.
mm, mm,
And
mm.
then things are
Another
because he's a goal scorer.
another I think team of concern for me is Belgium, coach. As someone who's managed at the highest level, when you have so much talent in the team, but they don't seem to, you know, gel. They don't seem to live up to the expectations that everyone has. I mean, this Belgian Belgian team is I don't know, the galaxy of stars, in it. Kevin De Bruyne, Witzel, Jan Vertonghen, Romelu Lukaku, you name them. These are the players that play in the biggest leagues in Europe, and week in, week out, they're playing their best football. But when it comes to the national team, it's not happening. Tomorrow they're playing Croatia, a very spirited Croatia. They need to beat them in order to qualify for the round of 16. And this is probably, Belgium's golden generation's last World Cup. Most of them, they are in their, late mid 30s. What's not going right with Belgium? They seem to have the structures, they seem to have everything in order, they have the players, but when it comes to the world stage, it just never shows.
When you have too many stars in a team, it's a problem. You're
Ooh.
dealing with egos. And once you have egos, too many egos in the change room, it's not healthy. I don't know Martinez as a coach. I don't know what's his leadership like, if he allows it or doesn't. But if you don't know how to manage egos, well, you don't have a squad. And I think at this moment, Belgium has a lot of individual players, but not a team. I personally think that they're not a healthy team. There's just something missing there. And I think what is missing is a happy change room environment. And if you don't have a happy change room, doesn't matter what you try and do, you're not going to perform. And another factor I think is happening, they're going past their shelf-by dates. So sooner or later, and if you start changing, and after this World Cup, I think you'll see changes coming in. Because this is not the Belgium. If you're going to play at this age, well, then you must play 100% effort. And if you're going to play, well, you must leave your ego behind. Because you're playing for your country. This is bigger than your ego. And at this stage, I certainly believe the egos of some of those players is a problem.
No, definitely. It would be a real shame if they would be knocked out tomorrow. Another game happening today at 9. Everyone will have their eyes fixed on this because Argentina also need a win against Poland in order to advance to the knockout stages. They didn't start that well. That loss against Saudi Arabia also kind of was a shock for them. And I think they would go through this tournament just being a bit shell shocked because of what happened. Do you see them going to the next round? They also have a really talented side. Obviously Messi is there. You can't not mention him. But Argentina also, the big teams, the big names, they don't seem to be going as much as we want. Considering that it's probably the last World Cups for many of the big names and players that are playing in those countries.
Yeah, Argentina's problem for me was they left one of the most exciting youngsters in world football at the moment, and that is Enzo Fernandez. He plays for Benfica. He's on fire. He came on the last game. He scored. And if you ever play like that, he needs to be on the field. He's dynamic. He's on form. He wants to play. I mean, there's already speculation that Real Madrid are targeting him for next year. And they put a youngster like that on the bench to be more defensive-minded. And that's the problem. You start thinking defense before you attack. Argentina is known for being an attacking team. When you have players that are creative, they want to play football. They want to have the ball at their feet. They want to create. They don't want to just sit back and wait for the ball. And when you do that, you stifle their spirit. So I certainly think, and we'll probably see if I'm right or wrong, Enzo will start on the starting 11 the next game. And if that happens, you'll see a different Argentina. He's definitely the trigger there to get them going.
Coach, before I let you go, I think France is also on everyone's lips right now. Could they potentially be the first country after 66 years to defend the World Cup? The way they're playing, the squad that they have, they seem to have a certain swagger about them. How are they looking according to you?
Yeah, look, there's a certain swagger around France, and when you have Mbappe on your side, everything's possible. And he's on form, and he wants to make the difference. um,
mm,
and they look good. They look good defensively, midfield. They're an exciting team. They know how to play with pace. Give them Mbappe the ball, he'll make things happen. So yeah, will they go all the way or not? Football is very unpredictable, but they're certainly looking very good, very good.
mm,
Out of the top
mm,
teams in the world at the moment, remember we spoke about Argentina, they're up and down. We spoke about Portugal, there's an impress. Brazil didn't start off well. France just got off like boom. They just exploded,
mm,
and they're
mm.
creating momentum, which is which is a good thing for them.
No, thank you so much, Coach. BSI Football Academy. Is there any latest you want to share? Contact details. How can people get hold of you guys? I know you guys are doing really brilliant work there. If there's anything you want to share, any new projects that you guys are working on, your website, social media, you can go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity. We've got our Ubungani tournament over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. To
Mhm.
under 18 event. It's a scouting opportunity for youngsters. We've got our partners from Florence landing tomorrow to scout, look for youngsters. We have Sundowns, Pirates. It's us. There's a team coming from Zambia. We have UJ. We have the local district selection. We have a Kappa invitation. All this is put together to showcase the talent that we have. And who knows, maybe Florence will go back with one or two players. Who knows? So that's basically it. But it's going to be an exciting tournament. It's going to be live streamed on the Super Sports Schools app. So you don't have to come, you can watch it live.
Okay, definitely. No, thank you so much, Coach. And all the best. Contact details, people that want their boys to join. How do they get hold of
Hey,
you guys?
you can phone me direct. Take
Hmm.
all the calls 082-896-5563.
Thank you so much. That was former Moroka
Thank you.
Swallows head coach, Coach Zeca Marques, currently the technical director of PSI Football Academy, Bellstone Sports Institution. You can check their website out, or you can give them a call 011 485 1068, or you can contact him directly. Give his phone number there. But otherwise, great analysis there, real in depth and understanding of the World Cup and football at the highest level in the world. But yeah, some really, really interesting fixtures are currently happening. Another African team is currently playing country Tunisia. They're currently playing the defending champions France. The game is played for 18 minutes there, but the score is still 0-0. Australia played Denmark also concurrently with Denmark needing to beat Australia in order to qualify for the round of 16. Notable game tomorrow, which I think will be on everyone's lips, is the Argentina versus Poland game. I think we all want to see Messi progressing in this World Cup, which will probably be his last. So Argentina needing a win to qualify, and they're going to be playing a very, very stubborn Poland there. So they need to win in order to qualify for the round of 16. Saudi Arabia, Mexico also playing tomorrow. I mean today at 9. But the big one for me, I think the match that really, really is close to my heart is the Croatia versus Belgium game, because the Red Devils of Belgium, man, that's a golden generation. That's a really, really brilliant side that I think deserves a bit more, than what they're currently giving. They deserve so much more. They deserve to win the World Cup. The players that they have, Martinez, the coach that they have. For me, this is pinnacle of world football, and they just need to deliver. They're playing against Croatia. They Luka Modric, Croatia, which is very, very stubborn team, very hard working team, and they also want to progress. They had a taste of the World Cup final in 2018 Russia, where they unfortunately lost to France. So I'm sure they'd want to go one step over the line and maybe try and win, their first World Cup. Another match, Morocco versus Canada, playing tomorrow at 5. So yeah, it's day 10 yesterday, day 11 today. The group stages are coming to an end, and I think we'll be going to the business end of the tournament in the knockout stages, where now we'll be seeing serious heartbreak happening when the giants, the teams that when the World Cup started, we are all looking to and saying they probably stand a chance, and they'll be going against each other, and to see who's going to be the world champions. of the FIFA World Cup, which is currently happening in Qatar. But we're enjoying the football. It's exhilarating, it's beautiful stuff. Standout game for me so far in this past week was obviously England and the Wales team. I think the English are cementing themselves there and saying, we are here to participate. We want to win the World Cup. But, I'm African also. Senegal doing the business for us. I think Ali Cisse there has a really, really good side on his hands. And, it's very motivating having an African based coach taking an African side into the knockout stages of the World Cup. But we'll see how far they can go. We're holding thumbs for them. Hopefully they'll be the first African side to reach the semi-finals and potentially the finals of a FIFA World Cup, because we need it, man. African players are rubbing shoulders with the who's who of world football week in, week out in the leagues, whether it's English Premier League, Serie A, Ligue 1, in France. African players are there, and they're playing some of their best football. And I think it's time that that football is translated on the international stage, and Africa finally, in our lifetime, kind of has that huge impact we've all been waiting for in World Cup history. But for me and Kolani on the other side of the desk, we'll see you again, and we'll give you another cool recap of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Qatar already out, joining South Africa there in the record books, being the second host country after Bafana of South Africa to get knocked out on the group stages of a World Cup. I don't think that's a record that they wanted, but it's the World Cup. It comes with everything: the wins, the losses, the tears, and the joy. And we'll be with you every day, 4 p.m. Until the duration of the World Cup, where we'll be giving the best analysis with the big names in South African and international football, journalists, former coaches, pundits, the who's who of world football, giving us a recap of the day's happenings of the World Cup. But from me and Kolane, it's adios, goodbye. We'll chat again tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.